Why did Ed Sheeran spend 6 years as a defendant in a massive legal battle? In 2017, Ed Sheeran was named in a copyright infringement suit over his song of the year, Thinking Out Loud, which he allegedly plagiarized. The plaintiff suing him, the copyright holder of Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On, who claimed that Sheeran not so legally borrowed the chord progression and harmonic rhythm to make his own mega hit. So, what does this all mean, and what does the law say about song ownership? A chord progression is the sequence of musical chords that typically repeats throughout a song, and harmonic rhythm is when the chords change. So basically, what chords you hear and when you hear them. Of course, there are a finite number of musical notes and chords available to songwriters, and even fewer ways to combine them in a way that makes sense harmonically and rhythmically. Because of this, these elements are considered universal building blocks of songwriting and are not generally protectable by copyright. A songwriter claiming to own a chord progression or a harmonic rhythm would be like a chef trying to trademark the combination of salt, fat, and heat in cooking. That's not a unique recipe, it's a foundation of cuisine. Lyrics, melody, and arrangement are typically the easiest parts of a song to definitively claim intellectual ownership of because they're much more specific. But these elements weren't named anywhere in the lawsuit because the lyrics, melody, and arrangement of Ed's song don't really have anything in common with Marvin's. So the case basically came down to this. Is the harmonic and rhythmic progression to Let's Get It On unique or distinctive enough to credibly claim ownership over these songwriting elements? And if so, is Sheeran's song similar enough to constitute theft? Well, for what it's worth, Sheeran never denied that these songs have extremely similar chord progressions and rhythms, and he even played a mashup of these two songs in concert before the lawsuit was even filed. But there's a reason he spent 6 years fighting this case instead of settling and moving on with his life. Sheeran's defense argued that the court granting ownership of chords and rhythm to anyone would be harmful to composers everywhere, and set a dangerous precedent, giving specific songwriters an impermissible monopoly over a basic musical building block.
I really felt like I had to take a stand. Yes, it's a chord sequence that you hear on successful songs, but if you say that a song in 1973 owns this, then what about all the songs that came before? We found songs from like the 1700s that had similar melodic stuff. No one's saying that songs shouldn't be copyrighted, but you just can't copyright a chord sequence. You just can't.
Sheeran even threatened to quit music if he lost the suit, saying artist freedom would be so limited by an unfavorable ruling that there would be no creativity allowed in songwriting anymore.
If you can't use a C chord to a G chord because someone in the 60s used a C chord to a G chord, it just takes the joy out of it. It just sucks the fun out of it.
To make his point, Sheeran brought his guitar to the witness stand and played dozens of songs that use similar chords and rhythm to show how nobody can truly own these elements in pop music.
My one is, when your legs don't work like they used to before. And then there's, have I told you lately that I loved you? And then, people get ready, there's a train coming, that looks like we made it. Look how far we've come, my baby. I guess you'll say. There was 101 songs, and that was like scratching the surface.
After this private concert and 3 hours of deliberating, the jury found that Sheeran had not infringed on Let's Get It On's copyright. A win for composers and enjoyers of pop music everywhere.